This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here today by Sky Sports Head of Boxing, Adam Smith. We're here at the Ruiz Joshua 2 Undercard press conference here in Saudi Arabia. We too. Adam, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, I got in a couple of days ago, and yeah, it's been a really eventful fight week already. The ground arrivals, the workouts yesterday, which were terrifically attended, and a great atmosphere there. Longer workouts, which was good to see on a Tuesday as well, and I think everybody was hogging their bit of time in the limelight. We had a long stream going on at the same time, managed to get lots of different people in, and yeah, it's fantastic. More and more Sky personnel coming over day by day. It's a huge operation for us. I think we've got 147 on the ground by Saturday night. It's massive. We're host broadcaster. It's obviously unfamiliar territory to many, and you know, it's a challenge, but we embrace challenges, and we've got a fantastic card here, a wonderful load of support fights for the most intriguing, compelling, fascinating rematch of recent times. So yeah, I'm delighted to be here and can't wait to see what happens on Saturday. I'm sure you can't.
I absolutely can't. Where does this rank with kind of the scale of fights that you've been involved with during your time with Sky Sports?
Yeah, it ranks right up there. I mean, I was actually writing something this morning, and I was thinking back to those sort of great days we've had when Frank Bruno lifted the world heavyweight title at the fourth attempt at the old Wembley against Oliver McCall. Nights of Eubank Collins, Joe Calzaghe, of course, Prince Nassim Hamad, that great stretch he had, Ricky Hatton, and the wonderful events we had with Ricky. Costas Hugh stands out to me back in 2005. David Hay maybe coming over to beat the big giant Nikolai Valuev. Hey, Klitschko was a huge event for us. Obviously loads at Wembley, starting off with Froch Groves, many overseas, the likes of Mayweather, Pacquiao, and so on. And AJ Klitschko probably stands as the sort of the crowning moment in many ways. We were host broadcaster, 90,000, two wonderful athletes, a great fight, and AJ's best night so far. And I think probably that one, is going to take some beating. But this is a different operation. It's certainly the most probably difficult we've taken on. In a country, Saudi Arabia, which has had a bit of boxing. Obviously, this is their biggest event in terms of boxing. They built this wonderful arena, which was sand just a few weeks ago, and it's a huge challenge for everybody. I think for Eddie and his matchroom team, for all the Saudi Arabians here, all the people involved in the fight and bringing it to Saudi, and for us as well as the host broadcasters and our colleagues and friends of Zone as well from the States. So yeah, it's a big operation, but I think a big operation is great when it's a big fight, and it's a mega fight. It's a fight that everybody is split on. Repeat, revenge. It's got everything. It's two heavyweights colliding, and then look at what's on the bill as well. It's a heavyweight bill, and some fascinating action to take place on Saturday. And I think the best thing for us is it's round about 8:45, 9 o'clock UK time. So it's prime time for the UK market. And obviously Anthony's last fight in June was 3, 4 in the morning. So that's a major bonus for us and for his fans back home, and for fight fans to see whether he can regain his heavyweight titles, or whether Andy Ruiz will prove he's number 1, number 2 heavyweight in the world.
You mentioned that being on prime time over in the UK is something that we've spoken about countless times over the last 18 months, particularly with kind of the shift to the more American side of things recently. What's the kind of projections? I mean, you mentioned AJ versus Klitschko. That was a pay-per-view monster. Are we kind of on track for that? Is it thereabouts? I mean, the fact that the shift to, I think the ring walk's going to be 8:45 p.m. Is that kind of pushing towards a big number for Sky Sports?
I'm sure we'll have a lot of take-up on Saturday night and on the days up to it. We've built this hugely. It doesn't really need building. It was interesting sort of debating it. I mean, everybody knows what happened in the first fight and what may or may not happen in the second one. So, just the fight itself doesn't need a lot of marketing, because it's just such a compelling one. And, Matt Christie, Boxing News is terrific editor. He's been in this business for a long time, and he was like a kid in a sweet shop yesterday when we got him on the stream, saying, "I'm just so excited about this fight." So yeah, we didn't need a lot with it, but I think with the push obviously that we give on Sky Sports News, skysports.com, bringing the casual fans in. We've got the big Manchester United derby on Saturday, and then you can sort of switch over to Sky Sports box office. You can see some great action up to the main event. Yeah, I think we'll do very good business, and I think it's going to be very popular. my kids, for example, and their friends are saying, we can stay up for it this time. It's great. It's not even 10:30 at night or 4 in the morning. It's, it's around about 9 o'clock. So that's brilliant. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that will watch. And we hope for a really successful night again.
Much has been made about tactics going into this fight. Obviously, and Anthony Joshua was winning the fight in the first fight. A lot of people are looking at this fight as potentially, much of the talk has been about a change in tactics for Anthony Joshua, boxing on the outside. Do you think that's going to be his best chance of winning?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he looks like he's stripped weight. He's not been doing weights. He's been going back to basics, I think, running, boxing. He's brought a lot of different sparring partners in for this, different coaches to assist Robert McCracken. So, he's really thought about this. I think he was hurt for a number of weeks, and he's had to get used to the fact he's not the world heavyweight champion. He's a challenger. He's got to try and do it all when he couldn't do it in the first place in June. And whatever the conspiracy theories, which I don't believe, I think he lost to the better man on the night. He got it wrong. Eric Molina said something very interesting to me yesterday. So why are people saying Andy Ruiz, can he win the fight? Of course he can win it. He won it the first time. He showed he could win it. Can Anthony Joshua win the fight? Tactics are crucial in this, and I'm not in their camp, but I would expect that. I would look to be boxing, utilising his height and reach and his jab and his skills. Whether they'll look to do that on the outside, inside, mix it up, or whether they should take centre ring and try and punish Ruiz with a jab and maybe the uppercuts as he comes in and he raids with his combinations. I think what they probably don't want to find is Andy Ruiz backing up Anthony Joshua on those ropes, and he's very fast, as we saw again in the workout. I don't think there's much change. I mean, everyone says he's going to come in much lighter. I don't see that. I just see him very much the same. I saw him 4 weeks ago in LA. I think with Andy Ruiz, it's what it says on the tin. I mean, he's been fighting since he was 6 years old. He's a warrior, and he's a very clever fighter as well. I like the look of his defence in the short bursts we saw yesterday at the open workout. But like the look of Anthony Joshua, he looks like he's really dedicated himself to this. And I think a big question is whether they've had enough time to adapt. But I think he'll look to certainly utilise his feet, his legs, his jab, maybe stay out of trouble at times, maybe impose himself at others. I think he's got to hurt Andy Ruiz in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Show him that he still has that power, because if he does come in lighter, well, that'd be a slight question. For Ruiz, I think it's sort of more of the same, a longer training camp. I know he's worked with Michael Hunter, so he's obviously expecting that sort of a tactic from the Joshua camp. And it's fascinating. I'll tell you one thing, he's brought 50 people over with him, Andy Ruiz. He's calm, he's confident. He hasn't come for the paycheck. I know that. He wants to win this. He wants to go back with all the titles. He wants to go on to bigger and better things, he believes, next year and unify the division with the likes of Deontay Wilder. So all this talk of AJ, of Anthony Joshua reclaiming his titles and going forward to fight Wilder and Fury, Andy Ruiz is not buying that. And I don't buy that he wants 15 minutes of fame. I just don't think it's in him. I think, yes, he's had a bit of a rest. He's had a party or two. He's got the flash cars maybe and a nice house. He's got 5 kids. His 5 kids are at school. They're not over here. He's a humble guy. He's got his feet on the ground. And I believe he's a very proud guy. And I think he'll look to do everything he can to win this fight, which makes it so compelling. Because for Anthony Joshua, really, to be where he was, to have those fights with Deontay and Tyson Fury, you've got to say he's got to win this, and the W is all important. Of course, it's not the end if he loses. Of course it's not. He wants to fight 4 or 5 more years, but it will be an enormous. If June was a setback, this will be a major setback. It will be really tough for him to rebuild again. I'm sure he's got the strength to do that, but I think he needs the W on Saturday night. He needs the win, and maybe he'll try and get that at all costs and not take risks. But we hope it's a risky business, isn't it? We hope for a dramatic duel again, and I think styles make fights. It was a cracker in the garden, and let's hope for another one.
How would you mentioned the fact that a second loss would be very difficult to rebuild from. How would that affect the British boxing market, and particularly the pay-per-view market?
Yeah, it's a good question, Rob, as you always give me. I think the thing with Anthony Joshua, he's provided a platform for a lot of British fighters to come through. We've got a great crop. Look at Josh Taylor the other night, against Regis Prograis, the fight of 2019 probably. He's given that platform. Vasily Lomachenko wanted to come to the UK, to fight Luke Campbell. Everybody seems to. Michael Hunter saying, when are you going to get me over to watch a Premier League game and then headline a show for you? They want to come to the UK, and obviously we've gone to America and DAZN have come in the market. But I think what AJ has done is, he's taken the sport to new levels. So would it be a major blow to the British boxing market if he was to lose? Not in another great fight, but if he was to lose maybe dramatically and maybe that build back, the comeback would be tougher. Yeah, of course it will make a dent in it, but we're already planning things for 2020. There's a lot of other fighters around that are hoping to become part of that Sky Sports box office market. We've got BT as well over there. You've got, obviously we know that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are going to go to battle again on February the 22nd. You expect Dillian Whyte to be back in the picture next year. Who knows if Amir Khan and Kell Brook can finally make it happen. You've all the talk maybe of Usyk and Chisora. Lots of things sort of, in the melting pot, bubbling around. And, Anthony Joshua will obviously be a huge part of that. So, yeah, I guess from a British boxing perspective and that sort of business size, yeah, an Anthony Joshua win would be very welcoming. But I think the key for us is that we put on a great event here. We give Sky Sports box office customers, a great night, a fantastic build-up, a great night, a different night in this different setting, and a cracking fight. And may the best man win. This is heavyweight boxing. If Ruiz does it again, let's see where the Ruiz story goes. It's a great story, and that can take us to different places. I think back to when I sort of started at Sky, and you had Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield, and they had countless fights between them. They didn't always win. There were a lot of losses in there, but great fighters, great duels, great rivalries, great narrative. And Anthony said yesterday that this isn't going to be the last time he sees Andy Ruiz in the ring. So maybe he's looking at a trilogy or something even more with Andy Ruiz. Great dance partners, aren't they? Great styles they make for a fight. So yeah, I think it would be a disappointment for British boxing if Anthony doesn't come through on Saturday night. But the show goes on and he'll be back. I've no question about that. But let's look forward to Saturday and enjoy this one first, because it's the biggest night of the year.
You mentioned Michael Hunter, obviously in a fantastic fight with Alexander Povetkin in chief support. Who are you picking in that one?
I really like that fight. I'm calling that one, so I won't pick a winner, but I believe that it's going to be a fascinating clash of styles. It's, you've got Michael Hunter, who's the smaller heavyweight under the tutelage of Hasim Rahman, who's got all that experience behind him. I really like Michael Hunter. I like him out of the ring. I think he's a very good guy, a respectful guy. The way he's dressed this week, he's really looked the part. He's a great boxer to work with, and he's got terrific talent, great skill set. He knows he's going to often have to do things probably the longer way with being the lighter sort of heavyweight, and then with Alexander Povetkin, who we all know, Olympic gold medalist, heavyweight champion, that one loss to Vladimir Klitschko, and then he came and he built up a momentum again in the UK, beat David Price. He gave Anthony Joshua a lot of trouble in those first 2-3 rounds, and then he beat Hughie Fury, so he's not going anywhere quietly, Alexander Povetkin. Yes, he's older. It's probably the right sort of timing for Hunter to say take the risk, but you cannot count out Povetkin at this sort of level. He's proven, he's a big puncher, he's got a great ring IQ, but I think Michael Hunter has as well. I think Hunter is the dark horse. I think he's a sort of, he's been a hidden secret in a way, very good amateur, coming up the quiet way. I think you're going to hear a lot about Michael Hunter, and I like it as a fight. I think it's a fantastic chief support.
Dillian Whyte also returns to the card. How pleased are you to have him back on Sky Sports, considering the kind of the turbulent last 6 months?
It's been very turbulent, as you and I know, and it must be very hard for Dillian, to sort of keep on track. I know he said to me yesterday he's many times he's thought of walking away. That's not the Dillian Whyte I know. Dillian Whyte's a fighter, and I think that's why the British public have warmed to him over the last few years. That Dillian is a realist. He says things. He says what he believes, and I think people find that very refreshing. Also, what he's backed up in the ring, he's had 10, 11 fights since Joshua, and it's been one challenge after the next. The likes of Derek Chisora a couple of times. Lucas Brown. What a knockout there, Joseph Parker, and of course last time out against Oscar Rivas, and the troubles he's had out of the ring since, and we don't know what's happening there. What we do know is that he's licensed to fight, he's ready to carry on, and we've got him in 2019, and we've got him back, which is brilliant. I'm really pleased, and I think 2020 is going to be a fantastic year for Dillian Whyte. I feel feel for him, not just of the difficulties, as he talked about at the press conference, he's had out of the ring, but also the fact that he's been mandatory challenger. He's been there. He's been the number one. He's the WBC, man waiting, if you see what I mean. And Deontay Wilder's got his own plans. Obviously, I was there a couple of weeks ago when, he lost 5-6 rounds and then blew away Luis Ortiz at the end. But he's got his own plans with the rematch with Fury. Dillian, probably his best chance is to get the winner of Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. And if Joshua wins, that would be a huge fight back home. It's one that we'd all relish, the rematch, the bad blood in first time around. And I think Dillian really deserves his opportunity. But, he didn't like it when Eddie said your favourite for this fight, against Marius Vac. He likes being the underdog. He likes being, almost the challenger. I think that's what brings the best out in Dillian Whyte. And I think he needs to get through Saturday night, put on a good performance, and look forward to hopefully a really successful year in 2020, and where he can move on.
I spoke to Eddie yesterday and he said that we are still waiting, obviously, for a statement from UCAD to clear up some of that uncertainty. We do see him back on this card on an undercard. Would you be happy to see him, for example, headline a pay-per-view while there's still the uncertainty?
I think we've got to wait and see what happens. We don't know. I mean, I know what you know. I know what Eddie knows. The answer is it's unsure. So let's deal with this one. Let's deal with a Saturday night. As I said, it's fantastic to have him back. Really pleased that Dillian is boxing again, doing what he does best. It must be a very frustrating hanging around in the ring, in the gym, rather waiting for a call. I know he's been badgering me, he's been badgering Eddie. He's wanted to get on. Fantastic. Look, he's there on the card, and he's got a great place on it. One of the two chief supports, really. And I think a great performance now will spearhead him and move him into 2020. He's headlined Sky Sports box office events before, so there's no reason why he can't in the future.
Final word on young Hopey Price, who gets a fantastic opportunity boxing on this huge bill. How excited are you to see him in action?
Yeah, I hope he's a great talent. He's so young, isn't he? Under Dave Colwell's tutelage, and Dave, he doesn't pick everyone to train. He selects people to train. He doesn't pick everybody. He has a group of fighters who he believes in, and he's been saying about Hopey Price for a while now to me. He's very excited about him. I liked him in his professional debut. I liked him as an amateur. He's tall, he's awkward, he's rangy. I love the fact that he's just milking it up here. Him and Diego Pacheco, the two of them. Diego staying at our hotel. I think he's a terrific talent. I saw him in LA a couple of weeks ago on the KSI bill, and I think he's got a bright future. But Hopey Price definitively has. He's going to be very difficult to fight. He's got those long arms. He's got brilliant skills, and he gave a great workout performance yesterday, which people really were impressed with. But I've been impressed with his attitude, and I like the fact he's with Dave, and I think that's a duo we're going to hear a lot more of.
We look forward to seeing him in action on Saturday night. Adam Swift, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, thanks Rob.
Thanks,